The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the producers and the individuals appearing on this program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the staff of the Sun Prairie Media Center, its members or underwriters, the board members of the Media Center Commission, Charter Communications, TDS Telecom, or the staff and elected officials of the City of Sun Prairie.
Hello and welcome to Real Reviews. My name is Jamison Rabbit, and the man seated next to me still doesn't recognize Alaska as our 49th state. His name is Mike Roth.
It's too far away.
Yeah?
It's too far away.
If you can't see it from your house, it doesn't count.
Nope. So anything outside of my 1 mile radius, pretty.
Where was that again?
What?
Your house? Just
It's
in case the folks
in
wanted to know.
America.
Oh.
Yeah. The only place I know.
The folks wanted to know where you lived. I don't know.
America.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which Alaska is not part of.
No.
No.
Not in this scenario,
No.
it's not.
Or Hawaii.
Oh.
Took out Hawaii, too.
Dun, dun, dun. Breaking news.
Yep.
All right, so this week, we have one movie on the marquee, really. It's the big movie. In fact, it has the biggest opening ever in the history of movies.
The Karate Kid movie.
Right. We're going to get to it. We're going to get to that movie. First, let's talk about something called Cobra Kai. Recently, we had the YouTube Red series, Cobra Kai, came out a couple weeks ago. Went down and saw the first couple episodes they had showing here at the Palace.
Mm-hmm.
Watched the Karate Kid original movie. Watched the first couple episodes of Cobra Kai.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know what it is, it's a new series where we bring Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso are back in modern day. And we have, William Zabka and Ralph Macchio back in this one. And it is a 10-episode series, about 5 hours long on the YouTube Red. And it is kind of a redemption story told from the side of Johnny's point of view, where he wasn't necessarily a bad guy. He was misunderstood. And since the events of the All Valley tournament, his life has kind of gone to crap.
Oh.
And he resents Danielson and the success that he has now as a car salesman and a successful family man, and Johnny doesn't have anything. So he decides to reopen the Cobra Kai and brings in students, and he gets a little redemption, at least in his personality. You start to see he wasn't a bad guy. He was an easily influenced teenager back in 1984 who his evil sensei, corrupted him.
Oh, it was the sensei.
It's Kreese.
Yeah.
All the way. It's great. It's actually, I watched the series. It's really fun. It's way better than I thought it would be. It is really good. It leaves you just wanting more every episode.
Okay.
And, there's a great episode that is just a tribute to Pat Morita. Really nice Miyagi episode.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of nostalgia, of course, and a lot of callbacks to things that you would remember, and a lot of, updating scenes that you would remember and just little things, and in fact, in the first episode, the way it starts out is Johnny's a deadbeat and he sees this kid getting jumped, and so he steps in and saves the day and beats up all these thugs like Miyagi did with the Cobra Kai when they were dressed as the skeletons.
Yeah.
And it's very much like, oh, okay, I see the the symmetry here. It's really fun. I really, really enjoyed it. It got me wanting to watch. Let's get another season. Let's make this happen.
You going to purchase YouTube Red, you think?
I took a 1-week free trial to watch this.
Nice.
Thankfully,
very nice.
they offered a 1-week free trial. I'm guessing that almost everyone that wanted to watch this series took that free trial.
Okay.
I want to see what the cancellation numbers are going to look like for YouTube Red at the end of the week. I just have to remember to do that. But yeah, so if this interests you at all, if you're a big Karate Kid fan, if you want to see it, I highly recommend it. It's a really good continuation of that story.
Yeah, a long gap.
And it cuts out Karate Kid 2 and 3 out of the canon then, because it picks up after the events of the first one. So
very cool.
Yeah. Really enjoyable. So anyways, that's the Cobra Kai. Next up on the marquee, we have, as I said, the biggest movie of all time at this point, the biggest opening.
We weren't talking.
It wasn't Cobra Kai?
It wasn't.
It is Avengers Infinity War.
Nice.
The big part one of the big culmination of what we've been building to for 10 years. The Russo brothers are back with this story. We are bringing basically every character you have got to know from the Avengers universe, short of Hawkeye, and Ant-Man. They are mentioned for a moment that they're not going to be in the movie, basically, is what they're mentioned. But what it is we open the movie, it really picks up on right after the events of Thor Ragnarok. Asgard is destroyed. The remnants of the Asgardians are destroyed when we open this movie. Thanos and his minions are tearing the universe apart, searching for the Infinity Stones. The Infinity Stones, once fitted into his gauntlet, give him basically complete power of the universe.
Oh, yeah.
And so...
Causes problems.
Right. So this brings together all of our heroes, and throughout the movie, our heroes are kind of broken off into teams to guard the stones across the universe. And you get some really fun dynamics when you start putting, because it's not just, your typical Marvel, the Avengers heroes. You also bring in the Guardians of the Galaxy finally into this universe, and that dynamic, because they don't really know each other at all, and there's some interesting pairings there, and it is really the heroes doing everything they can to try and stop Thanos and his minions and to figure out how powerful he is, and you get a showcase of powers, and it's a lot of balancing a lot of stories and character dynamics. And we're gonna dance around a lot of the story itself, because we're aware that people are very spoiler sensitive this early into it.
And that's actually the biggest complaint I've been hearing about this movie is the spoilers.
Yeah.
But I would like to reassure everybody that we really don't know what is going to be the final result.
Half of the story.
Yeah,
there's still another
exactly.
2.5 hours to this story.
If not more.
Right. I mean, so this is a 2.5-hour film, and it's very much like there's still so much to be told.
Yep.
And so, there is, the usual outrage when it comes to a movie like this about, I don't want to know anything, but I haven't seen it yet, which kind of like, if you want to see it, see it. One of the big things, though, going into it was Thanos. Because that's been my big gripe about this, is that I don't think that they've introduced him properly. And you barely got to see him. There was no real build-up to him throughout these movies. He shows up a couple of times, end of Guardians, and you just kind of see him for a minute, and then nothing.
Post-credit.
And I wasn't in love with the things that I saw of him leading up to this, the stills in the first trailer. Like, he doesn't look intimidating. For me, he worked in this movie better than I thought he would. He looked better. He felt fleshed out. He was an intimidating character.
They gave him a personality. They gave him a reason for everything he's doing. This was pretty much Thanos' show.
Sure.
Yeah, we have this Avengers movie where we also want to introduce everybody and see the battles between the existing heroes, but they did a lot of concentration on getting to know Thanos and getting to know why he does the things he does.
They really humanized him.
Yeah, they did.
Through and his story with Gamora, his daughter, from Guardians, and Nebula, it humanized him, and it actually kind of gave him a motivation. It gave him dimension, which is one thing that I've always complained about the Marvel films, is I think their villains have never lacked, they've always lacked dimension to them.
Yeah.
Kind of really standard guys, no real motivation, no reason
Up to
to
this
care.
year.
And then here we are, and I was like, okay, this is cool. He isn't just a big bad guy just going out to destroy the universe for no reason. We got a reason why he thinks he's being merciful. He thinks he's doing the universe a favor.
Yeah.
And and so that's why he's doing it. Great. And that's the thing I enjoyed about this movie is, you get to see all these powers, and you get to see like Doctor Strange's powers explored a little more and certain things. When I walked away from this movie the second time, I realized this is a movie about relationships. This is a movie about the relationship between Banner and Hulk is a big thing in this movie.
Yeah.
The relationship between Gamora and Thanos. The relationship between Scarlet Witch and Vision. The relationship between Spider-Man and Tony Stark. And just these relationships between all these characters. The relationship between Quill and Gamora. And then the battle of egos between Quill and Thor, which is fun.
That was hilarious. That
And
was
so
absolutely
that's the one thing I took away from it. I was like, this is a really big movie built on relationships, and it was interesting that you would build that into this movie that you would think would just be a big, let's throw them together and blow stuff up.
Yep.
That would be just fine for a lot of people.
There's a couple of scenes where it felt exactly like that,
Sure.
but it was far and few between. Most of the scenes were very solid and had little twists and was choreographed fantastically. There was only a couple episodes. I'm not going to mention them, where I felt like, no, that's not how this would have gone down or started in the first place. But for a 2.5-hour movie based mostly on action,
Yeah.
they did a fantastic job at having a good mix of feeling and adventure.
And this seems like an impossible task, and I was really reticent going into this that this was going to be able to be pulled off well, is to take this many characters and they branch them off and you have different stories happening concurrently. And I think that the Russos did a really good job of balancing all of these different stories and teams that had broken off to try and defend different stones, and you give them equal time. You're not gone from this story for too long where I forget like what's going on over here. And that balancing act of this many characters seems like it's impossible to do, and I thought they did a really good job of making it fit.
I think, I mean, we have how many movies?
This
built
is our
up?
19th
This is our
movie.
19th movie, and you could tell that they have learned a lot over the years. Certain characters are not the same characters they were when they
Right.
launched with their original release, and what it came out with, I think, was just a serious look at what you could do when you really pay attention to your character and build your character well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of learning done. The Thor direction, if you didn't like his comedic turn that happened recently, well, that worked for a lot of people, so they kept that, and I
Thor has some
enjoyed that.
incredible moments in this
Oh,
movie.
he's
Really
fantastic.
incredible moments.
Yep.
Like, he steals the show in a few different moments in this movie.
Yeah.
And coming off of Ragnarok, if you would have told me that 2 years ago, like, Thor's going to have some huge moments, like, I don't care. But coming off the heels of Ragnarok, I'm in again with him, and it worked really well. He's a very powerful character.
Yeah.
And and just his banter with Rocket, and you put those two personalities together, they're fun.
They are.
I mean, it just like simple casting of Peter Dinklage as a giant troll. You're like,
That
yeah,
was
absolutely.
awesome. I was like, no, is that who it is? Oh my gosh, this is awesome. And he was a dwarf. But, you know, he was not a dwarf of our
No.
definition.
Yeah,
he
he
was
was
a giant.
30-foot tall dwarf.
Yes, he was.
It's just inspired casting. It's just so much of this movie, you know, and the way they showcased Thanos' power. One of my beefs was it felt like his underlings weren't really explained very well.
No.
They just kind of show up, and you're like, okay, who's this guy? And like, wow, this guy's really powerful. What's going on? Why? Who? Where? What,
They
you
seemed
know?
really cool.
They did,
Yeah.
and I wish I would have gotten a little bit out of them.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit of an explanation or name or anything.
Yeah,
you
a
know?
little mini team of minions that were really pretty cool.
Really powerful.
Yeah.
I wish I would have gotten a little of that, but you know, I mean, you see that Thanos, you know, with the snap of his fingers, can just alter the universe.
Yeah.
You know, if he gets everything together, bad things are going to happen.
And that's not a spoiler.
No, I
because
mean, it's the whole
that's
point of
the
this.
Infinity Gauntlet,
Yeah.
and that's been part of canon in the comic books
Right.
forever.
I mean, it's gonna, you know, he's gathering stones together.
Yeah.
I really like how his perspective and where he came from and what he's come through, and his perspective on this. And there's so much that I really want to talk about that really moves me with this movie that I can't talk about.
But don't get us wrong. He is evil.
He's a bad guy.
He is a real bad guy, but at least he is humanized a little bit where we could find out where he is, his emotional motivation is coming from.
Sure.
So we don't just mark it up as, yep, he's bad for just bad sake, which is
and
common
that
with a
is-
lot of villains.
Exactly. Any issues, any beefs you have with this film?
I really don't have any beefs. It was long.
Sure.
There is tons of Easter eggs in this.
Absolutely.
As like I really enjoyed myself. I don't think I would have picked this out of a crowd. This is something you really should be watching other Avenger
And
movies
that's what I was
and
gonna.
other
That
things.
was my next question
Yeah.
was if you're somebody who maybe fell off at some point. I haven't watched the last 5 or 6. Can I still watch it? There's an enjoyment factor there.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of like you'll get out what you put into it. If I didn't put a lot of investment into this Marvel universe, you'll get the action moments and you'll miss a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
If you're invested in this universe, there's a lot to take from this.
And I believe that's something we both are very much invested in this. I was just talking earlier, if you owned nothing but Marvel movies, you actually have a great collection if all you have is Marvel
Right.
movies. 19 movies so
Yeah,
far.
yeah.
And it's not slowing down. It's
We got
still
another one
going.
coming out next month.
Yeah.
Ant-Man and the Wasp comes out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just they just keep rolling. And I think that I think that Marvel kind of hit a bumpy patch there in the middle in Phase 2. I thought there was some bumpy moments, you know, the Iron Man 2, Thor 2 type of stuff.
Yeah.
this Phase 3 has been pretty great. I mean, Black Panther a couple months ago, Thor Ragnarok before that. It was a pretty decent little stretch here of storytelling and really well done movies.
I hope they keep up this pace.
I do too.
When's the next Avenger movie supposed to be coming out?
Next year. This time next year, May 3rd of 2019, because they shot it pretty much along with this one. So it comes out, and that might be moved because this one was supposed to come out a week later. It's supposed to come out and they moved it forward a week. So who knows? We'll see.
All right.
But what did you end up giving Avengers Infinity War?
I give it 4. It was a great movie. I don't think it was knocking it out of the park completely, but very good movie, especially if you're invested in this.
Yeah, and it's tough to give this one a score because it is kind of part 1 of a story. It's half a story.
Yeah.
So it's tough. Like, depending on what part 2 is, might affect part 1 for me. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah.
But I gave it 5 stars. I loved it.
Wow.
The second time I watched it, I loved it more than the first time I watched it.
You don't give out these.
No, I don't. And especially to superhero movies, I don't give out a lot of 5s to superhero movies.
Are you looking forward to seeing it again on Saturday?
I'm looking forward to seeing it, of course, at the fundraiser that we're having. Probably be too late by the time some people see this. But so that actually launches into, because we both enjoyed this quite a bit, a little discussion of our favorite Marvel franchises within the Marvel universe.
Yep.
So you broached this subject when we were talking off air.
And originally I was thinking of something original. Well, when the very first of this kind of universe is the Edward Norton Hulk. And I really enjoyed that movie, even though it totally failed. They got rid of Edward Norton.
That's the second movie of this universe.
I don't know.
Iron Man was the first one.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Iron Man opened up, then Incredible Hulk.
All right. And I really liked the Incredible Hulk, and I wanted to give it kudos. But really, out of all the movies, Guardian of the Galaxy was the one that really wowed me.
Okay.
You took some characters that I really didn't know very well, and you gave a spin on every single one where I just loved every single character. You brought in 5 unique characters, threw them all in 2 hours, and I had feelings for every single one. Sure. And I thought that was fantastic. It's a very difficult job for any movie to do. And I thought they pulled it off, and
it's a great one, especially because they had the unenviable task of introducing new characters to a wide audience.
Yeah.
That seems almost impossible to do. And they pulled it off like most people couldn't.
And some of the creativity that goes into this, like having Vin Diesel, actually a paid actor, do the voice of Groot.
Sure.
And all he says is, I am Groot. Yeah. And he's still the voice actor, even though they manipulate his voice to make it sound like a baby in the last one, or teenager in this one.
That check still clears every time.
Vin Diesel, Groot.
It's brilliant. Vin Diesel, brilliant.
3
Never
words.
thought I'd say that.
All he says.
Yeah, it's funny, man. I rewatched The Incredible Hulk recently. That movie bores me to tears.
Really?
It does. It does. Hulk is one of my favorite characters in comic books.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's had a good movie yet.
Okay.
Hulk is one of the worst things ever. The Ang Lee, Eric Bana Hulk is terrible.
Yeah.
And that's why they kind of wrote that thing right out. And Incredible Hulk, I remember enjoying, but on rewatch, it's too much of a movie of a guy who is running from his power and just trying to avoid having his powers, and it feels like that's the majority of the film. And after seeing so many amazing films, I was like, yeah.
It's been a while since I rewatched it, but I remember Edward Norton bringing in a nice sense of needed to be calm, needed to work with this a little bit more.
Part of it, too, is probably some revisionist history in my head, too, because I know that he was bored out of his mind making that movie and hated it. And that's why he refused to move on in this universe, and we had to replace Banner again with Ruffalo. And so I don't know if I'm looking for it, but I see it now. When I rewatch it, I'm like, oh, yeah, he's kind of going through the motions, it feels like, because you can tell, knowing the backstory of, like, yeah, he didn't want to be on set.
Okay.
Kind of ruined it for me.
I'm gonna have to rewatch it.
Painful, but anyways, but that's not mine. The franchise within the Avengers universe that I love the most, I think is the strongest, are the Captain America movies. The 3 Captain America movies.
Yeah.
Those are my go-to every time. They're just so great and they're so different. The 3 of them are completely different from each other, and I can't separate which one I love more than the other. maybe Winter Soldier, but some days it's first Avenger.
I think you're right with this choice. When you're looking at the entire franchise, all three are very, very solid.
And the thing is, they're essential pieces to the story
Yeah.
of the Avengers. They're essential building blocks.
Yeah, where you could have done without the last two Iron Mans pretty easy.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to explain why. Can't think of his name.
War Machine?
War Machine. Thank you very much. War Machine is there, but you could have
That's
done that
fine.
in like 5 seconds.
Yeah, you know, but yeah, everything is really built on. I mean, he's the first Avenger.
Yeah.
You know, everything's built on those movies, and I just think they're so great. You know, and Civil War is basically a mini Avengers movie in its own.
Yeah.
You know, just bring the team together for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are my go-to. But the thing is there's so many out of these 19 movies. There are so many great films and so many different storytelling techniques that are used that just make them enjoyable. And there's something for everyone, I think.
Another thing I loved about this movie, the 3D was fantastic. It was
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic, and I feel so bad that the only way I'll ever be able to see this in 3D again is to go to the theater before it's out.
Yeah, the first time I saw it was in 3D.
Yeah.
And I was surprised.
Yeah.
I don't like 3D.
I love
I
how
never choose 3D, but it was the showing that was available.
I love
so.
the use of space. You'd have those aliens type moment or alien type moments where you have that little speck in the long run, and everything is
Wait, are you
so
talking
large.
about that super old movie Aliens?
Yeah, that's super old.
Is Footloose still the greatest movie ever? It never was. See the movie if you haven't seen it. Anyways, what we're saying is if you haven't been one of the people, opening weekend, $630 million.
Oh, yeah.
$630 million worldwide, global. It still hadn't even opened in China until next week.
Yeah, no,
It's breaking
topples
every
Star
record.
Wars.
Yeah, beats The Force Awakens by a considerable amount.
Which I find odd because Avengers wasn't open 24 hours like Star Wars is. 24 hours straight. They were selling out their theaters.
Everybody loves them some Avengers.
I guess so.
Absolutely. Go see it if you haven't. Go see it again. Come see it with us.
Yeah.
Cinco de Mayo.
You probably won't see this in time, but really, we hope you bought your
It was a good
tickets.
time. All right, let's move on, sir. Let's take a look back. You chose a movie for our movie throwback. It took us back to 1979.
Oh, yeah.
What are we talking
Oh,
about?
we're talking about The Warriors. This is one of those old, based on a comic book, kind of like the Avengers in a way. You have a little bit of revenge story. You got a bunch of packs of different groups that may or may not know each other, all battling it out until you get to the end. Cyrus, who we see in the trailer right here, he, for some reason, gets all these gangs together to tell them how tough they are. He gets assassinated by one of the gangs. That gang blames the Warriors, and the Warriors are on a breakneck pace to try to get back to their turf, which I don't quite understand what makes that safe because everybody has the same powers.
But everyone has
They're all
has their turf, and you don't need
Everybody-
your turf.
Everybody has their turf. Everybody has their own wardrobe choice.
Oh man,
Everybody
the design of these street gangs
Oh,
is
that's-
iconic.
It is very.
Ooh.
And also we have the iconic quotes from it.
Yes.
So I've been saying,
Yes.
Warriors, come out and play, yay! Like a lot of my day today.
I mean, this movie, it is very much 1970s New York.
Yeah.
And it is, the Warriors going from borough to borough, basically, and running into, I mean, you see the baseball Furies. I mean, he stands out. I mean, he was on the cover of this thing when I was a kid. But the teams, the Lizzie's gang, just a bunch of chicks who are luring him in, got to fight, and then you got to face off with the rogues.
Yeah.
And it's very much like an early video game movie.
Yeah,
you go
it
level
is.
to level, fighting different gangs,
Different
trying to make it
bosses.
through, different
Yeah.
bosses, and trying to make it through. And it's an interesting movie. It's very 1970s.
That's what I could say about it. If this was a new release right now, no way I could take it seriously.
Yeah.
I might laugh myself to
Sure.
death and leave early because of that death. But now, if you're looking at this as this was made in 1979, and this was part of the culture back then.
Absolutely.
This was a fantastic movie. Actually, Ronald Reagan, he watched this in while he was president. And
Sure.
he wrote the director, Walter Hill.
Yep.
Just tell him how great
Really?
he loved his movie. Yeah.
The Gipper loved the Warriors.
And Walter Hill, he remade this. I watched the remade version
Uh-huh.
where I guess there was a lot of enhancements and changes in it. It
More
starts
seams on the baseball face.
well, I don't know exactly. I don't remember or watching the original at all, but I've watched this one and I thought it was pretty interesting. And it starts off with the director telling people what his vision for the movie was. And
So
how,
would you tell people watch the Warriors?
No, not really. No. But if you are interested in film history, I believe this is a piece of film history.
That it is. It is in the past, so it is technically history.
Yes.
Everything I just said, everything you say is in the past.
True. I think this is an important piece of. I mean,
it's got some iconic things to it.
Yeah, some iconic things. What about you? Would you suggest watching this?
With some explanation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have to be. I would have to like give a little preamble to it of like
the whole
what we
movie.
just said. Like, yeah, just be aware that there's. You know, put yourself in the mindset. You know, get yourself in this.
Yeah,
but I like the character designs a lot. It's fun. It's fun.
Would you give me your jacket if I asked for it and you were going through my turf?
Nope. No, you're on your own, Holmes. Sorry. No dice, coaches. All right, let's take a look ahead at what is coming out the weekend of May 11th. We have 2 films that will be out that weekend. The first one is Breaking In. This one stars Gabrielle Union. There's a home invasion, and she will do anything to protect her family.
Anything?
Well, we'll see. We'll find out. And the next movie on the marquee that week will be Life of the Party, starring Melissa McCarthy. Basically remaking Back to School, it looks like. She's going back to school, going back to college, and isn't she going to be funny? This is another movie directed by her husband.
I'm actually looking forward to the other movie that she's been...
where she's the forgeress?
Yeah, that one looks like it might be good.
Yeah, this one... We'll talk about it when we get to it.
I'm sure.
I'm not going to prejudge anything, but she has had a rough history of starring in movies directed by her husband, such as Tammy and The Boss.
Yeah.
Those movies have not been good.
No.
So anyways, those are the films that will be coming out May 11th. Before we leave you, of course, we want to thank our sponsor, Marcus Theaters. The Palace here in Sun Prairie, thank you for sponsoring our show. As we've said, we are looking forward to having a beautiful fundraiser at the Palace. We hope you are able to join us. Hopefully you've gotten tickets already. If not, we recommend going to the Palace anyways and watching movies in their beautiful Dream Loungers.
If you didn't get tickets and you happen to be there on Saturday and you see us in the hall, we're not stingy with our time. We'll say hello.
Come say hi. You can touch my beard. Why not?
Nah, you can't.
I don't let people do that. Anyways.
No, that's creepy. Don't do it.
If you want to find more from us, you can always find us online. If you're on Facebook, we are too. Just search Real Reviews TV. Like us on there. If you are on the Twitter, we're there as well. Just search @Real Reviews TV. Yes.
Yes.
There it is. So make sure you're on there with us. You can also find all of our previous, or a bunch of our previous episodes on YouTube by searching Real Reviews KSUN, KSUN, or you can watch them all online on demand anytime by going to sunprairiemediacenter.com. There's an on-demand player.
And if you happen to watch all episodes before you show up to your paid event of, I will give you some of my popcorn.
I think that's technically impossible. I think the hours don't add up. It's like 3 weeks worth of watching.
Straight watching.
Staring at these faces. Why wouldn't you? Who wouldn't want to? Anyways, next week.
I'll share my popcorn with you anyways.
Next week we're going to be talking about such movies as Bad Samaritan and Tully and another one.
That one's going to be really good, whatever it is.
Slipped my mind. Overboard.
There we go.
Overboard remake, of course. How could I forget that? It's going to be the best.
You're already given your review. Nice.
Yeah. Anyways, those are the movies we're going to be talking about next week on The Marquee. But until that time, I'm Jamison.
I'm Mike Roth.
Thanks for watching.